Let's take advantage of the fact that very few people know about the Jobava system right now to win a lot of games. It is a very, very easy system to use, and it also hides some truly impressive tricks under the hood. So please don't worry if you don't typically play the queen's pawn, because you will only need to learn about 3 or 4 simple moves to be able to confidently use this system in all of your upcoming games. So get ready to see one of the best systems I've ever brought to this channel. We explained it a little bit once before and y'all liked it a lot, so let's go for it. When we play the queen's pawn, there are 2 popular responses. The first is that they also respond with the queen's pawn, and the other is that they move their knight to f6. These are the 2 most popular moves against the queen's pawn. We, against all odds, are going to play against both of them with knight to c3. Why do I say against the odds? Because here, the most used moves are either knight f3 or c4, maybe even e3. But knight c3 is not a very used move, but it is a move that allows us to play the system. What are we threatening? Well, now we are supporting the e4 square. So we are threatening this break, which is so good for us to take control of the entire center and be able to develop our pieces comfortably. That is why they must now try to fight for the center with the move knight f6. What we want to do is play knight f4. This is the Jobava system. Simply put, you have to memorize these 3 moves: d4, knight c3, and bishop f4. And from here on, everything falls into place. A very, very common mistake that players who don't know this system make here is knight c6. And here they have practically already lost the game. Yes, you heard that right. In just 3 moves, they have already lost the game. Do you see how it's like an Italian game, but on the queen side? The Italian game is played with this knight on f3 and this bishop on c4. Well, now it's even better than the Italian game for carrying out the typical Fegatello attack. But here it is much more effective than on the king side. We are attacking the c7 square with the knight and the bishop, and this can no longer be stopped. I honestly can't believe how many games I've already won just with this. How can they try, I say try because you can't, try to stop this c7 point, right, with the knight? Well, they could try playing e5. So all we would have to do is capture this pawn with the bishop. It's true, now they can capture it with the knight, but absolutely nothing happens, because look at what follows. You're going to love it. Knight takes bishop is the only way they have to try to eliminate one of these 2 pieces. Otherwise, we'll simply capture this pawn with check and we'll take the rook, right? We simply recapture this knight in such a way that we threaten their knight, and it doesn't matter to us where it goes. It doesn't matter to us if it goes back to d7, to e4, or if it goes to g4, it makes no difference. For example, I'll assume it goes to e4. Well, we are simply going to continue with this incredible move that will leave our opponents with goosebumps. Queen takes d5, a queen sacrifice for just a pawn. I'm sure many of you already see why. Right now, we are up 2 pawns, but no matter how much they capture our queen, this queen is recovered very easily with the move knight takes c7. Check to the king, I attack the rook, I attack the queen, and when they move the king, we simply win the queen. It's the only way they have to save our entry. And in this way, we've ended up with a 3-pawn advantage. And besides, the opponent's king can no longer castle, which is to say an extremely strong advantage. What I like most about this system is how easy it is to win. Let's see, for example, what happens if instead of d5 they play knight f6 first? As I tell you, we're going to do the same thing, knight c3. That is our plan. What for? To threaten to play e4 and take control of the entire center and be able to develop both bishops in a super correct way. That would be spectacular for us, but it's logical. They can and should avoid it with d5. These 2 pieces defend against the e4 advance. Very well. How are we going to continue? Well, this system is so simple that we are going to continue in the same way. Now, if they play knight c6, we have already seen that it's a huge mistake. We come with the knight to b5, and the pressure on the c7 point becomes impossible to defend. But mind you, many times they know that knight c6 is a serious mistake, right? And they play, for example, the move e6. I encounter this a lot. It's a much more correct move. What are we going to do? Well, we are going to continue with our traditional moves, e3, to be able to develop our bishop. We can develop the knight, castle, and in such a way that we are saying, let's see if you make a mistake again. And if you play knight c6, I'll do the same thing to you as before. Mind you, it's most likely they won't play knight c6, but if they do, here we go, right? Why do I say that it's not the most normal thing for them to play knight c6? Because normally in the queen's pawn, this c-pawn is responsible for moving to c5 to try to attack the white piece's pawn center. Those of you who have been playing chess for a bit longer already know that here black always plays c5 in such a way that we are going to attack again in a brutal manner. Knight b5 is going to be our best ally in this system. While it's true that we haven't won immediately, our pressure is going to be so difficult to defend that they would have to play super precisely. Why am I not saying now that we win completely directly with this knight here? Because since the knight on b8 hasn't developed, it can now go to a 6 in such a way that it defends the a7 square. And we are going to play cat 3 and we are going to see something. Right now, we are attacking this point. Therefore, the knight on a6 can't move. It is in a terrible situation. Besides, it blocks the pawn that wants to kick out this knight. Therefore, this is like a London system, right? A London system, but with a knight that's 1,000 times better. This knight on b5 is attacking this square, permanent pressure. The bishop can't develop, so we have our opponent cornered. And if that weren't enough, this knight can't be kicked out. What is the only way they have to kick out this knight? Bishop to d7, threaten it. It's that simple. What are we going to do? Well, we're simply going to play a 4, a tremendously strong move. It's true, they can eliminate our knight. If they don't eliminate it, well, we can keep up the pressure throughout the entire game because it's the only way they have to eliminate the pressure. And when they capture, we are going to recapture with the bishop. We give a check. As you can see, blocking with the queen would be a tremendously serious mistake, just like moving the king. The only feasible move is to block with the knight. But wow, it seems like black isn't doing so badly here either, right? But yes, they are in terrible shape. We are going to play knight f3. The difference between white and black is that white has an attacking plan and can move their pieces wherever they want with great ease, while black cannot move. The knight is pinned. This knight is in a super bad situation. That said, if I ask you what the most used move in this position is, I'm sure many of you are thinking of the same one. Knight c7, this knight is in bad shape. It gets placed on a good square and also attacks the bishop on b5. This might seem like a very good move, and in fact it is the most used move in this position. But here we can win immediately. We simply need to play bishop takes c7. We win this knight, which gets exchanged, and now after capturing with the queen, we simply enter with knight e5, a spectacular bombshell. And now, the knight on d7 simply cannot be defended. It's pinned, defended by the queen, that's not enough. Whatever they do, no matter how much they place the rook, which would be the best move in the position, we are going to win material here. At the very least, we are going to win the exchange with the move bishop takes d7. Knight takes d7 would also work. They have to capture with the rook, and we would simply continue with knight takes d7, queen takes d7, and we have placed ourselves in a position with an exchange up. What is an exchange? Well, it's having a rook in exchange for a minor piece, whether it's a bishop or a knight. An extremely comfortable game from now on. I have to warn you about one thing. There's only one way to prevent our Jobava system attack, which you already know what it is. Our attack is based on coordinating our bishop and our knight so that they both point at the c7 square and create extreme problems, as we have just seen for our opponent. There is only one way to prevent it. But hey, don't worry, because I'm going to show you how to play if they play a 6, which is the only way to stop our knight from ending up on b5. But my friends, you shouldn't worry about any of this at all, because we are going to keep playing in a completely normal and effective way. We're going to play e3. It's very simple, don't worry. Suitable for everyone, even for the elite. There are elite players who play this system, and more are doing so. e3, very well. Here they can continue with many moves. The most logical move is e6, right? To develop their bishop, play c5. That makes sense. How will we continue? With knight f3. Perhaps here, if you have an ELO rating of over 2300, let's assume 2200, 2300, I'd say the sharpest move is a 3. But for the rest of us mortals who have 2100, 20,000, or even much less, for 1500, the best move would undoubtedly be knight f3, which is the one that presents the greatest opportunities for us. Most used moves, bishop e7, bishop d6, c5. If they play bishop d6, there is something very important you should know. Whenever you are faced with these two bishops, you shouldn't worry about doubling pawns. Simply put, we can play bishop d3, and if they capture, these two pawns are now building an infallible square for our knight. And whenever they trade it for another knight, we will place this pawn here and have an incredible position, so you should never worry. If they play bishop d6 against you, you can leave this bishop here and develop the other pieces. Simple, right? If they played bishop e7, it's a rather slow move, because at some point they're gonna have to play c5, and in doing so, they will lose a tempo. So if they play bishop e7 against you, it will be the same as if they played c5, but with an extra tempo. Perfect. So let's see what happens if they play c5, which is what we're going to encounter in most games, because it's the only move that allows black a little bit of counterplay. Where would we love to have this bishop? On day 3, but we can't. It's a typical detail of the London system, Cole system. Why can't our bishop on d3, which is perfectly placed, be put there now? Because they would play c4 against us, right? And they would force us to retreat. So, well, don't worry, because we're going to apply a little trick to be able to develop the bishop to d3. It's as simple as first capturing the pawn that can advance, and now we play the bishop to d3. It's that simple, right? Super simple. Very good. What have we achieved with this position? Well, for now, we have 4 pieces developed, while our opponent has just 2. We're going to castle on the next move, and we have a super comfortable game. Our opponent hasn't fallen for any tricks. I could continue developing normally, but even though they haven't fallen for any tricks, I'm going to show you what the plan is for those games that don't have any little tricks, because our plan is simply, after castling, and once we have castled and all our pieces are developed, to try to break on e4. This is going to be a key move. The idea is that if they capture, we're going to capture with the knight. Let me show you. We capture with the knight, and we have a frankly good position. We are now threatening knight takes knight, queen takes, and pay attention to what we're threatening, huh? For example, if we threaten the bishop and it moves away, knight takes knight almost wins the game, because after queen takes, we trap our opponent's queen. This queen has nowhere to go. And I assure you, okay, that I've encountered this many, many times. Therefore, here, if they capture this pawn of yours, you capture with the knight. If they capture yours, well, you keep capturing and nothing happens. And if not, you capture and trap their queen. But what I encounter most here when I advance is that they advance too. And of course, what happens now, because they are threatening our knight, we could retreat it. It would be a very good idea. I'm not going to tell you otherwise, but I love, and whenever I do it, I win the game, getting into this game. Me too. I threaten your knight, and you threaten mine. If you move your knight away, absolutely nothing happens, because I also move away and attack you over here, or even better, I place myself on e4, attack your bishop, go on the attack over here, so absolutely nothing happens. But what I encounter most here, when we make this advance, is that they say, let's see what happens. They capture here, I capture here, and they get into the game. So if we get into the game of these exchanges, the only thing we've achieved is that our opponent has captured a b-pawn, a pawn that doesn't matter to us at all. In fact, now we could continue with the rook over here. If they capture here, we capture here, and nothing happens. We have traded this b-pawn, which doesn't matter to us at all, for perhaps the most important pawn in the opponent's position. Now we're going to come in with the queen, with the knights, with both bishops, and we're going to end up delivering checkmate, right? But what I find most often here is that when we capture both knights, he has captured ours and we have captured his. They see that this exchange is favorable for us, very favorable, and what they do is queen takes f6. And if you've been paying attention to the video, you'll know what to play here. Come on, I'll give you 3 seconds to think. Actually, I gave you less, but it doesn't matter. The correct move is bishop g5, trapping the opponent's queen again. As you can see, this queen can't go anywhere anymore. We've managed to trap it thanks to the strength of our 2 bishops. That's why it's so important to develop your pieces, as I mentioned, the bishop to d3. And since I want you to know how to play no matter what they do, I have to explain to you what happens, okay? What I just mentioned to you now, when you break on e4, if they capture this pawn, because I come across this so many times, it's not a good idea, but I do come across it. So as I'm telling you, you capture with the knight, okay? This way we're threatening knight takes, queen takes, and bishop to g5, winning a game. So people think, well, I'll trade knights with you. And now I'll trade queens with you. And as you can see, we simply reach a super equal position where we have absolutely no advantage here. Actually, no, we have a spectacular advantage. The file is ours. They can't develop. This bishop can't get out anywhere. If it goes to d7, we would capture it. If it comes out to b7, they would have to move this pawn, which means they would lose the knight. If they try to move the rook first, then we would capture it with the other bishop. As you can see, they can't do absolutely anything. They're paralyzed. If they try to trade rooks and play rook d8, we can trade rooks, for example, and then bring the other one over. So we end up in the same situation as before. Or even leave both rooks facing each other. We are in an extremely superior position, no matter how much they've tried to trade pieces. Fewer pieces on the board doesn't mean they're definitely going to be saved. I almost forgot a super important line, and it's one of my favorites. In the variation where they play, for example, the normal line where we play e3 and they play c5 immediately, you remember what I told you, right? We are going to jump with the knight to b5 directly. Why? Because as long as they don't stop us with the move of 6, which I assure you they will rarely do, right? We're going to jump with the knight to b5. And here, how are they supposed to defend this point? Well, the only move they had was knight to a6. But there is an intermediate move that they play against me a lot, and I love it when they play it. I get very happy, and I'm going to show you why in this line. Before playing knight to a 6, they often play queen to a 5, check, to which we are not going to respond with queen to e2, but rather we are going to respond with c3, simply using our system. Don't worry, this knight is well defended by the bishop, and now if they play knight to a6, so it's the same as before, but this queen, instead of d8, is a little bit more active on the a5 square. How are we going to continue? Well, we are now going to continue in the same way as always. We are going to continue with knight to f3. This knight is indeed being attacked by the queen, but it is defended by the bishop. Therefore, this knight remains intact here. But many of you are surely thinking the same thing as always. They play bishop to d7 to attack this knight with 2 pieces, and what you would have to do now is retreat this knight to a 3, and that's a very bad move, right? Well, no, what we're going to do is a 4. And here what we see is that this knight is well defended by the bishop, but at any moment they can play c4 and cut off the communication between our light-squared bishop and the attacking knight. And I've encountered this many times, and at the beginning, when I didn't know how to handle this, I really had a hard time, because I thought that now I'm going to have to move this knight back here, they're going to take my pawn, they're going to attack my queen, and this is a total disaster. Well, no, what you should do here, and remember this, is it doesn't matter if they capture this knight and take a pawn, a free pawn, we don't care. Why? Because no matter how much they eat a pawn, they are going to lose too much time winning that said pawn, and we are going to gain it in development and attack. And this can end up very well for us. Our bishop usually wants to go to d3, we already know that. But in this case, logically, it can't go there. That's why we make the quiet move bishop to e2. Very well. They have They have gotten away with capturing this knight with their bishop in such a way that they win a pawn. They're forced to capture it, right? Because the queen is being attacked by our rook. And now, how are we going to continue? Well, simply by castling. And I lied to you when I told you we were giving away a pawn, because we were actually giving away 2. But if they take this one now, they're going to lose immediately. How, chess teacher? Well, it's that easy. When they capture this pawn, yes, they have 2 extra pawns, but they have dug their own grave. As I told you, this king has stayed in the center for too long. It hasn't prioritized its development, and with the move queen to a4 check, we're applying serious pressure and winning the game immediately. It doesn't matter to us what they do or how they cover the check. The only logical move here would be this one. And we are going to follow up with the move rook from f to b1 in such a way that we threaten the queen. It doesn't matter to us where that queen goes. It really has few options. It has to come to this side here. And as you can see, we are gonna win the game here because the queen has moved away and our true objective was to enter with the rook on the 7th rank. You know the typical saying, it goes, put a rook on the 7th rank and you'll win the game. In this case, for sure. It is evident that we are attacking this knight with 2 pieces, and not only that, but we are threatening queen takes knight, checkmate. Therefore, they must defend this knight, without a doubt, right? Look at how expensive it cost them to win 2 pawns. This knight, how is it defended? With a rook, it wouldn't be possible because we win the other one. So the only way they have to defend this knight is with knight 6 to b8. It's the only way they have, but this doesn't help them at all either because the only thing we have to do is ask ourselves, who defends this knight? The other knight? Well, I'll eliminate it with my bishop, and it's that simple. Bishop takes. And now, simply, on the next move, whatever they do, we're going to play queen takes knight, winning the game immediately, delivering a tremendous checkmate to our opponent. I would love for you to put this simple system to the test. If you enjoyed it, please, I'm really asking you, leave a like. It helps me so much to keep recording day after day. So if you like this system, leave a big like, leave me whatever you want in the comments. I read all of them, even if I can't reply to everyone due to lack of time, obviously, but I love reading all of you. And we'll see each other tomorrow, as always, in the next chess video, friends. Goodbye.